Friends, I'm glad to welcome you to my channel. Today, the video format will be a little different, something unusual. I won't be showing the repair process or reviewing another tool. Today, I'd like to answer a popular question from the comments regarding learning how to repair electronic control modules from household appliances. For the past 3 years, I have been actively working on my educational product called Electronics Technician, From Zero to Master. This is a comprehensive, systematic training program into which I have poured all my experience and knowledge in diagnosing electronic control modules and sourcing spare parts suppliers. It covers what components make up each electronic module, their different types, subtypes, and much more. Today, I would like to go into detail with you about what is included in the training, what kind of ecosystem we have built as a whole, and what results we have achieved over the past 3 years of actively developing our educational product. So what is Electronics Technician? From Zero to Master. It is a whole ecosystem of educational products where, in addition to lectures, you get access to a large material base. I would like to highlight several main components that make up the training and tell you more about each of them. First, you get access to a large number of lectures where I talk about the different types of electronic control modules, what they are made of, what components they consist of, which radio components you might encounter on the boards, details about how to diagnose these specific components, how to test them, the principles of how they work, and much more. In the lectures, we also look at various programmers, firmware, how this process works, what software you will need, and much more. You will take the training lectures on a specialized platform where you can track your progress, complete practical homework assignments, and so on. The second main section, which I see as highly valuable, is practical repairs. What are practical repairs? Over the time that I have been teaching and repairing electronic modules, I have periodically recorded various repairs that either I or my colleagues have worked on. That is, it is very important for beginners to convey the diagnostic process, what reasoning we use, what conclusions we draw, in order to find a defect or malfunction on the board. And it is precisely in the practical repair sessions that we take a tester and start checking radio components, measuring voltages, performing firmware updates, and so on. In essence, this is a large database of completed repairs where you can go in and look up any malfunction by entering it into the search. For example, indesit, error fate, right? You type this into the search, a video comes up, and it might be exactly the same issue you're experiencing. So by watching this video, you can already understand the problem and carry out the repair yourself. That is, you shorten the diagnostic process, shorten the repair process, and in this way you reinforce your skills. And this is very important. The next section is that we have compiled a large database of materials such as schematics, magazines, service manuals, data sheets, and more specifically, firmware. Why do we need this? The thing is, when someone starts repairing an electronic module, they need to search for this information online. However, this often takes a huge amount of time and it's inconvenient. It takes away time that you could otherwise invest, so to speak, directly into the repair itself. That's why we've put together such a database where all the necessary materials for a technician are available. I'd also like to highlight that during your training, you'll have curators and mentors. This is the most important component, thanks to which students see very quick results and progress. In other words, you can ask questions to an experienced person, an experienced technician, an active electronics specialist, and get feedback from them. So you don't need to look for answers or ask questions on forums where, frankly speaking, you might just get told off. That's why this format doesn't work for us. We have our own mentors, our own community with experienced active professionals where you can ask your question and receive a detailed answer. And overall, colleagues, I've included in this training everything that I once felt I was missing myself. In other words, so that you can learn and immerse yourself in the field of repairing electronic control modules for household appliances and start earning in this fascinating area. Well, let's move on probably to the most interesting part, the training program itself. And the first module in the course is called Introduction to Electronics. The goal of this module is to immerse you in this fascinating field and to help you understand what equipment you need at the very beginning. Sometimes, at the start of their career, a technician might buy completely unnecessary equipment and end up wasting extra money on it. In this section, we will figure out together what exactly we will need and what is not worth spending money on. Next, we will go over the laws of electrical engineering and what we will need when diagnosing electronic control modules. We will also determine the proper workspace for an electronic specialist and discuss how to, so to speak, protect your health when working specifically with electronic modules, because soldering and repair in general are not exactly healthy activities. Therefore, it is important to take this into account, and we have dedicated a separate lesson to this topic. The next point is that we will be going over the technical markings on the circuit board, as well as the terms that are important to learn and master, so that we can speak the same language. We will also analyze what electronic modules generally make up any household appliance, because there are inverter modules, display modules, power modules, and it is very important to understand their differences and the function of each one. Our next module is called Radio Components on the Board. The purpose of this module is for us to get acquainted with all the radio components that we may encounter on an electronic module. Resistors, capacitors, transistors, MOSFETs, IGBT transistors, microcontrollers, PWM controllers, and much more. Here we will figure out what the difference is between active and passive radio components. It is also very important for us to understand what number systems are, what types of interfaces exist in household appliances, in other words, how electronic modules communicate with each other. So it's very important to understand this. And in this module, we will also go over how to test each of these radio components and what they look like on an electronic module. By the end of the second module, you will have a complete understanding of which radio components are most commonly used, as well as how to properly check and replace them. The third module in our course is called Diagnostics of Electrical Circuits and Power Supply Units. Here, we will cover how to work with measuring instruments such as a multimeter, an oscilloscope, an ESR meter, and so on. The composition of an electronic module, in other words, how to determine by looking at an electronic module which individual blocks it consists of, because as we know there are separate power supply units. That is, this is the high voltage section. There is also the low voltage section where, so to speak, the low voltage logic is located. These are microcontrollers, memory chips, and so on. Here we will learn how to diagnose and measure voltages. This is very important, especially when, for example, the electronics won't turn on. And this is actually one of the most common and basic malfunctions in household appliances. Next, we will learn how to test a specific electrical circuit on the board. For example, if your compressor won't start, how can we trace the circuit from the compressor to the microcontroller port and find the fault in that chain? The next point is that we need to understand signals. That is, what kinds of signals exist on boards and how we can measure them using an oscilloscope. Next, we need to learn how to identify intermodule connections. For example, if we have a display module and a power module, and one of them doesn't turn on or isn't working, how can we use an oscilloscope to observe the communication between these electronic modules? Accordingly, the goal of this module is for us to be able to perform diagnostics, check circuits, work with schematics, that is, to read specific sections of a schematic essentially, to work with measuring instruments. The next module will be very useful, especially for practicing technicians, because it generates the most interest. This module is called Programmers and Firmware. The fact is that quite often, colleagues who perform mechanical repairs on electronic modules, that is component level repairs, such as replacing various components like transistors, resistors, varistors, and many others, do not take on repairs of the software part. That is everything related to the microcontroller and its firmware. So in this module, we will be taking a detailed look at how microcontrollers work, which communication interfaces are used, that is, which interfaces they use for programming, for example, such as I2C, UART, SWD, SWIM, and JTAG interfaces. Here, we will be examining all of this in detail. We will also delve deeper into the topic of memory. In other words, what types of memory regions does a microcontroller consist of? That is, there is external memory, for example, EEPROM, and there is internal EEPROM memory, flash memory. It is very important to understand all these things. And here, we will be working with a large number of programmers, such as USB-ASP and USB-DM. That is how we will be flashing microcontrollers using the Orange 5 programmer, Renesas microcontrollers, and much, much more. We will also review a very popular and highly sought-after programmer called J-Link, how to use it to read and write firmware on various controllers, and much, much more. In other words, the outcome of this module, the ideal result of this module is that you will learn to work with a wide range of programmers that can generally be used absolutely anywhere. It doesn't matter whether it's household appliances or automobiles, because, for example, Freescale NXP Motorola microcontrollers from the same group are used in cars, industrial equipment, and many other types of device. Accordingly, once you understand how these programmers work, you can apply this knowledge in absolutely any field. In addition to the technical aspects such as soldering, firmware, programmers, diagnostics, and so on, our training includes a large section called Master Promotion and Reaching a New Level. This is the 5th module of our training, and its purpose is to teach you how to properly and effectively promote your services and attract new clients. Here we cover topics such as what is packaging, what is positioning, and how does the master's appearance affect their earnings. We will look at different types of clients and how to work with them correctly in order to make successful sales. Next, we will dedicate separate time to managing social media, because in the age of the internet and the rise of social networks, it is very important for us to learn how to use them properly. And for this, a separate expert was invited who is a professional in this field. He will teach you how to create viral content, how to properly shoot various interesting videos, and how to gain millions of views. We will also look at how neural networks work and how they can be used in our field. In other words, the result of this module is that you will learn how to effectively promote your services and attract clients. The sixth module in our course is called The Psychology of Successful Professional Development. Colleagues, since we work quite a lot and periodically encounter phenomena such as burnout, I decided to share my experience in this section specifically about how to avoid burnout and accordingly how to maintain your emotional well-being at a sufficiently high level. Because no matter how skilled you are at repairing and diagnosing electronic modules, no matter how well you promote your services, sometimes your psychological state makes a huge difference as it directly affects your productivity. And here I also share, let's say, my own life experience, which I learned from my mentors, and we cover topics such as long-term assets and how to create them and why this is so important. Next, we look at the principles of the first and the best what they are and why I am sharing them with you. We will also cover topics such as delegation and hiring people. After all, this is a very important aspect when you start to expand and grow as a specialist. Building a systematic service and how to automate all these processes. In other words, the goal of this section is for you to learn how to achieve your objectives efficiently without burnout or overexertion. Additionally, in this section, we will also have guest speakers from various fields, electronic specialists who repair computers, colleagues who work on welding and inverter equipment, TV repair technicians, and so on. So this is unique and exclusive content that we cover specifically in the 6th and 7th modules. To summarize everything mentioned above, colleagues, by the end of the course, you will learn to understand electrical schematics, solder complex radio components, and perform this soldering most importantly with high quality and at a professional level. To flash microcontrollers and work with various types of programmers. To carry out complete diagnostics of boards. To understand the topology of electronic control modules and at a glance identify the different sections of any electronic board where the microcontroller is, where the power supply is, where the low voltage section is, and so on. To repair and diagnose switching power supplies, as well as how to promote yourself as a specialist without burning out. The course will have mentors who are experts in their fields, as well as practicing electronic specialists and appliance repair professionals from various areas, such as TV repair, industrial automation repair, household appliance repair, washing machines, dishwashers, and refrigerators. And there are also experts who are highly knowledgeable in programming and repair, specifically in software repair of electronic control modules, replacing controllers, and flushing them. This is very important. In addition to all this, colleagues, our training also includes a complete practical course on washing machine repair, and by mastering it, you will be able to start repairing washing machines from absolute scratch. You will also have the opportunity to join a private club for up to 6 months, as well as gain access to an expert chat. This is a chat where experts from various fields participate, such as TV repair specialists, air conditioner technicians, refrigerator technicians, and those who repair kitchen appliances. And accordingly, after completion, you will receive a special certificate confirming that you have completed our courses. Now, colleagues, we are moving on to the training packages. In order to make our course accessible to everyone, we have specifically created 3 different packages in various price categories. And our first package is called Basic. What does it include? The Basic package includes the first, second, third, and fourth modules of our training program. That is up to the modules on programmers, firmware, and working with microcontrollers. So the Basic package, my friends, includes 12 months of access to the training, 150 detailed practical repair cases, as well as schematics, journals, and materials. In other words, the materials I told you about earlier. Also included is a complete practical course on washing machine repair, a large firmware database, and accordingly a large database of suppliers we work with. And in fact, after completing the training and passing the exam, you receive a certificate. There is no limit to the number of spots available for this package. However, it's important to note that this package does not include feedback or in fact chat support. The next package we offer is called Mentorship. This package includes everything from the base package plus the addition of the 5th, 6th, and 7th modules that I mentioned to you. Also, this package provides you with a personal mentor. In other words, this is an experienced electronics technician, as I described earlier, who will assist you at every stage of your training. This also includes homework review and feedback from mentors, plus 5 exclusive live sessions that I will personally conduct at the end of each module, where I will answer your questions. Additionally, as a bonus, you get 6 months of access to our private Fixer Club, where I share the most up-to-date information from the repair industry and insights from the service business. And there's a separate chat with all participants and curators where you can exchange any necessary information. Plus, you'll get access to the expert chat upon successful completion of the course. Oh, and only 100 spots are available for this plan. However, colleagues, by the time this video is released, I'm sure the number of spots will be much lower. And you'll be able to see this in the attached image. The next plan is called Personal Work. This plan includes everything that's offered in the mentorship plan. However, in this plan, I will personally be your mentor. That means we'll work together in a small group, focusing specifically on your needs. This could be repairing electronic modules, opening a service center, automating your service, as well as promotion on social media and building your personal brand. We will have separate calls with you, yes, with the team, and of course, a dedicated chat. You will have access to all materials for 3 years. Plus, we also give you access to the exclusive Fixer Club for a full 12 months. Accordingly, each participant in the Personal Work program will also receive my own Fixer Plus merchandise. You will receive a wonderful sweatshirt with our logo, plus a very beautiful, cool baseball cap. Guys, the spots are also limited. There are only 20 in total. However, as I mentioned, by the time this video is released, there will naturally be far fewer available. So you can see the current number of available spots in the attached image. As for the prices for each of the packages, friends, you can find all the current prices and the number of available spots on our website. I also want to point out that in this particular session, we have added an interest-free installment plan for our students. So if you have questions about the installment plan, you can click the special Buy in Installments button on our website and get all the latest information. All the necessary information will be available on our website, the link to which is provided in the description below the video. Well, with that, friends, I'll say goodbye for now, and I'll be happy to see you in our training.